This episode is sponsored by National Technology Management. Visit trustntm.com for more information. I'm Kelly Siegel, and this is Harder Than Life, a podcast about self-love, self-awareness, business, and health. We tell outrageous stories and boil everything down to simple, practical advice you can start using today. Let's get living. Welcome back to the Harder Than Life podcast, my loves. Pastor Kimberly Jones, known as Real Talk Kim, is today's guest, and today is going to be extraordinary. She is a mother, pastor, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, entertainer, and best-selling author. Her most recent book is perfectly titled, You Gotta Get Up. I heard this beautiful, inspirational soul through my good friend Craig Siegel and while eating lunch and was ready to run through a wall. Her stories are incredible and her energy is off the charts. I love her and so will you. Get ready to be inspired. Welcome, my new friend, Kim.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored to be with you. This is a cool thing about social media. It connects cool souls.
Like I just said off the air, I listened to your morning prayer this morning and you had the one-liners that were fire. You said, a religitard and God don't bless a mess. And what you were literally, you must have known you were talking to me right after, because everything that you talked about is exactly what Harder Than Life is. So yeah. I want to start this off with one thing. You are always pouring into everybody, and I want to pour into you and tell you what I think about you and that you're amazing and I love you and I'm so grateful that I met you, and there are no coincidences. And I do a lot of business in Atlanta, and I'm going to get you and I'm going to get my big Siegel hug on you, and I cannot wait. So be careful what you wish for, because you're just going to get it. I don't know where to start other than to give me your best one-liner, because you're the best in the business at them.
You know what? My favorite one-liner is, as long as you have a pulse, God's got a plan. I just love that, Craig. I just love that so much, because we feel so, we're our biggest critics, you know? It's like when our marriage falls apart and we couldn't make it work, or we fall back into an addiction, or someone we thought that would never walk out of our life walks out of our life, and we feel so unworthy and like we weren't fighting for. The enemy wants us so bad to give up, because the enemy can't do nothing with somebody that won't quit. And so I think as long as you got a pulse, God's got a plan, lets you know that you can literally lose everything and in a year have more than you ever lost in your life, because you changed your mind and got better in that situation. That's my favorite.
I love, that's a perfect one, and it fits you and this podcast perfectly. And me, I started off, I was in Raleigh with Stephen Scoggins, who was very, very religious, and I love him very much. And he told me, he's like, God's calling you right now. He's like, I see you being God curious. And I've since surrendered and allowed it, and all kinds of goodness keeps happening. So there's no coincidence that I ran into you. We're gonna share God. I will tell you, I'm Jewish, so I believe I'm the chosen one, like Jesus. And I know that's a big thing. I know it's a big thing, but I do everything right. You talked about this morning on your Instagram Live, like, what do you do in private? You know what I do in private? The same thing I'm doing right here, right now.
Me too.
So we live that. You want Real Talk Kelly?
Come on, Kelly.
I love you, man. This is going to be so much fun. I didn't even need the podcast prep for you, because you're such a gem. But can you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey with God? There's so much to you.
Well, you know, Kelly, I was raised by a preacher. My mom and daddy were pastors. They had me in Jacksonville, North Carolina. 24 hours later, they had me in an Airstream, and we were traveling, and he was preaching. So I was raised around God. I was raised in a very strict religion. I couldn't wear pants, couldn't cut my hair, all that kind of stuff till I was like 15. That's why I'm such a rebel now. I had a mohawk for 25 years. Just like, you're not going to tell me I can't do. And I also, because of that, ran away, really got really rebellious, and got married really, really young. Left Bible school to get married in the middle of the night. And that marriage lasted 18 years, but I had fought so hard for it, because I was raised, if you get divorced, you're going to hell on a slip and slide. So I really had, Kelly, in my head, God was a mean God. And there's so much that I couldn't do to level up so that he could use me after all my failures. I was the only one that couldn't keep a marriage. I was the only one that was nay-naying and not praying in my family, And so
There they
I
go.
look, listen, I mean, I was like, God really had to have a lot of grace for me, and He did. But 18 years after I got married, we ended up walking through a divorce, and I lost everything and had to move back in with my mom and daddy at 36 with my two sons, Morgan and Lincoln, who are now 27 and 29.
Oh, that was one of my
And
questions. 27, 29. Okay.
27 and 29. And I was so devastated. And I remember laying in my bed at my mama's one night, lost my $500,000 house, lost my Mercedes, my Navigator, was driving I call it my knockoff Bentley, because it was a 300 Chrysler. And it had me sitting on the side of the road overheating every day. Every single thing that could go wrong in my life was going wrong. And really what happened, Kelly, was God let me hit rock bottom to find out who the rock was at the bottom, which was Jesus. And He was like, I'm going to show you that I got off of that throne and onto that cross 2,000 years ago just for you. And you're going to walk through some hell, because Kelly, I do believe sometimes God will wreck your spirit to save your soul. Sometimes He'll let things in your life go terribly wrong so that you fall flat on your face and you can get up again, because He's like, I need you to work for me. And I'm laying in my bed one night and I said, God, take this pain away from me. And I felt in my spirit, Kelly, I can't take it away. You got to get up and walk away from it. You got to walk away from that depression. You got to walk away from that anger. You got to walk away from being messy. You got to walk away from going back and trying to give CPR to dead situations. I'm here to help you, but you got to get up and walk. You got to go to hell and come out on fire. And that's exactly what I did. I started shifting the narrative of my life. And at 38, 39, it was like in that season, Kelly, in fact, people ask me all the time, what would you change? Nothing. There's not one single thing that I would change, Kelly, because I believe that you and I today, we can walk into a room and never even open our mouths, and just the mere atmosphere of our presence shifts an atmosphere, because we've both been crushed by our own storms. Our storms got us our choices got us where we were, but God is the kind of God that will turn your scars into stars, man. He will turn your
Scars into
wounds.
stars. You're
He does
brilliant.
it. He turns your wounds into wisdom, man. And here I am.
And she's on fire, people. 7 minutes into this. So wait, hold on. I want to interrupt you for a second, 'cause I know you will go. You said, go through hell and come out on fire. You know what? I think I was raised in hell, and now I'm on fire. And look who I'm talking to right now.
Come on. I believe that.
Yeah,
Kelly,
and you know what? You have to be, and I'm going to stop for a second and be a little vague. You have to be the prettiest, I mean, like outside prettiest pastor I've ever seen. You're gorgeous.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much.
You're just energy. We probably should never get in the same room together, because it'll be like the roof will explode.
I don't even know how God began to open up these doors, with you and Craig, and a lot of people that are outside the church platforms, and I'm loving this ride.
Well, I heard your story, actually. Share the story, how you were sitting on the side of the road with that car blown up, and you just pulled out your phone. I heard it yesterday. I was like, this lady, my daughter was listening. She's like, this is who's on your podcast? And I go, yeah. She goes, Dad, I hope the studio can continue to.
Oh,
so tell this story, because I didn't know who you were until you were on Craig's thing. So my listeners might not know you. So tell that story, how you got started in social media, which you have over 1 million followers now, by the way. And if you're not following Real Talk Kim, you have to. I caught her first. What do you call the morning Instagram? Prayer Talk?
It's RTK, just my podcast prayer call.
It is so good. I'm going to start listening to that every morning when I'm available.
I do it every morning at 8 a.m. It's like Popeye spinach for y'all. I kind of just sit there, and I usually try to stop it at 30 minutes, but man, the Holy Ghost starts falling, and we in there for 50 minutes this morning. I
was watching it, and I'm not kidding. You have so many comments, and the last comment, I saw it, and I was driving, and you commented on it. He's the guy who said that his mom is driving him nuts, and you caught it, and I'm like, whoa, she's sitting in here in my car with me. But anyways, go back
he said, my mama, he said, man, it's my mama. She driving me crazy. I said, you know why your mama's driving you crazy? Because your mama's got more power over you than God. God knows your mama's crazy. and he's going to use you to help get your mama uncrazy. But it's the way we process things. So I'm sitting on the side of the road. I had to go get a job, Kelly. So in that religion that I was raised in, we couldn't wear makeup. Like women didn't wear makeup. It looked like
So
a
good.
Amish person.
This is such a good story, by the way.
Can you believe that when I lost everything and I had to go get a job, the only thing in my little city was a Belk, and Belk is like a Kmart on crack. I was like, no, I gotta go. I didn't even like people, Kelly. Like I hated people, and because I was a preacher's kid. I'd been ruined by church people judging me all the time, and so I just didn't trust none of them. And I thought all of them were hypocrites. And I am literally what God did was He said, "I'm going to use your pain as your platform. I'm going to make you go get a job. I ain't worked in 13 years. I'm going to make you go get a job in cosmetics."
It's something you don't know shit about.
No, I can't, Kelly. I can't even go on YouTube and figure it out. I mean, I'm terrible. Like my eyebrows are not. I had to go get them tattooed because they're not twins. I mean, I couldn't even get my. And He put me right there in cosmetics where I had to, for 45 minutes, smell someone's breath doing their makeup. And I'm like, God, you hate me. I mean, it was the worst season ever. But in that season, that's when I'm driving my knockoff Bentley too. And I'm like an hour away from my house. I had to drive 1 hour going to work and 1 hour coming home. So I started praying for God to give me the desire to get unstuck. I'm like, God, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be angry. If I died right now, nobody would even come to my funeral because I don't know how to have friends. I just pushed everybody away. And man, in that car, Kelly, God started, man, He started healing me. Like I was desperate. I was desperate. And I'm sitting on the side of the road. Like I got so delivered and saved that if a mosquito would have bit me, it would have got the Holy Ghost. Like I shifted, Kelly. Everything shifted in me, and I'm starting to love doing makeup on people. Like I'm like, and I'm telling them how beautiful they are, and it's like everything was because your purpose is connected to your worst pain. Whatever you walk through that you thought was going to kill you is the area God's going to use you the most because you got something to talk about. It's free life college. So one day, Kelly, I'm sitting on the side of the road, and I mean, I lost everything. I'm sitting on the side of the road, and smoke is coming out of my knockoff Bentley, and all I could think about was Broadway. I was like, God, you think of everything. You've given me my own smoke machine. And I take out my phone and I'm like, hello, awesome people. Are you sitting on the side of the road in your hoopty, which was a broke down car, feeling like God's forgotten about you? I mean, listen, there wasn't no polish to it. It was just organic, man. I was like, you ain't gonna give up. You gonna get up, get up, get up. And man, I'm much in their face just telling them to get up. And that video went viral. I like put that video up. It went viral. And it was almost like God was like, Kimberly, you don't need nobody to give you a platform. You don't need nobody to qualify you. I've qualified you. And when I saw you were ready, I began to open the windows of heaven over your life. And before I knew it, there was hundreds of thousands of people following me. Every day I began to do videos of encouragement. They wasn't even that good, Kelly. Them videos weren't even that good.
That's because
But
you're
they were
beautiful. That's
organic.
why.
Thank you, Kelly. They were organic and they were authentic. And that's what people want, Kelly. That's
Bam.
why people love you. Because you sit and talk about the real you. You talk about, man, I used to be addicted to this alcohol. This thing had me. I still have this non-alcohol now. And you're sitting there with your cigars. Like you're basically saying, I decided to change. And that's the key. Kelly, you got to change. Nobody's coming to do it for you. And if you're watching and listening to this podcast today, you got to know that, listen, you ain't dead, which means God ain't done. All you got to do is get up and begin to move. Move your big old thick thigh. Don't stay there angry. Move. Even if you feel like a turtle stuck in peanut butter, move. Because when you move, you're going to get ahead and God's going to open the doors that's going to blow your ever loving mind.
You have my producers laughing like they're still. You're the best. I love you. You're amazing. First of all, I'm going to be honest with you, and what is the word I'm trying to say? So I want to tell you that it makes me feel very loved. that you went through and looked, because I know you're a busy woman and you have a lot going on. You came right off of your prayer talk to right to this, and you taking the time to research Harder Than Life and me, it shows me love. So I want to acknowledge that and feel that, and I thank you. It shows how authentic and genuine you truly are. So,
Well, Kelly, you know what? I got to say something about you. You know, there's not a lot of men, big, burly, you tell you work out, take care of yourself. Macho ego is what people would think,
mhm.
right? Because you're into yourself and take care of yourself. There's not a lot of men being vulnerable like you. And so that's God's going to really use you, Kelly, because you are standing in the gap and showing other people that, man, just because you serve Jesus, it ain't boring. Like, man, I live it like you're contagious. Your joy is contagious. You just can tell. I've been to hell and I came out on fire, man.
Yeah, it's
There
good
ain't
time.
nobody on this planet can tell me God ain't real. That's how you portray. And it's you deliver it well. So
Uh,
thank you for your yes. Thank you for getting up.
well, I appreciate it. And, you know, at the end of the day, too, I think you got to go through some of this. You got to have contrast. So if I've never drank in my life and I say, don't drink, how do I know? So I
Yeah.
know both ends of it, and it's not just the drinking. It's you know, I've interviewed a lot of people, and you said it this morning on your call. It can be porn, it could be the scroll hole, it could be. You talked about weed. Weed is a big thing. Everybody's like, "Oh, I'm California sober." Oh, great. So you're still not numbing your feelings. That is not the way to through it. You sit in your shit and process your shit, and it will get done faster. And
Right.
that's all I do with the hard line. And you know, I think that positivity is a lot of it. You know, people knock me, and I'm just going to kill them with kindness, just over
Yeah,
and over
me
and
too.
over. And I'll use something that I think Ed Milet says this all the time. God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called. Boom. And I'm
Period.
here. I've said it a million times, Kim, and you don't know me yet, but you'll know me now. As I have been run over, shot at, stabbed, punched, beaten. I shouldn't be here, but I am. And as you said, I don't look like the kind of guy that has the gift of oration and intelligence, but I am. And God didn't give me all this to sit back and do nothing. So we just got started. We
Come
started this
on.
January 31st. We're 8 months into this. We're just getting warmed up.
So you just started the podcast 8 months ago?
Yeah, I wrote this book just to get things off my head during the pandemic. Everybody was
My.
day drinking, and I just sat at home, and God was testing me like there's no tomorrow. And I had my ex-wife and my ex-girlfriend tried to end me and ruin me, and yeah, that doesn't work real well.
So
You've
proud of you, man.
it's just you put my back against the wall. It's on. Be careful.
That's me.
You poke the bear and it's coming. So. Uh, how did you end up? So you said you were born in, where'd you say you were born in?
I was actually born in
North
Jacksonville, North Carolina, but only
North.
24 hours. My parents were
Okay.
preaching there, and Mama had me when
How'd
they
you
were
end
there
up in
preaching.
Georgia then? That's a question. How'd you end up
My
in Georgia?
daddy pastors. My daddy pastors a church, and so he came to Atlanta, Georgia, and built a church. Said God called him here.
Isn't that where Martin Luther King and
Yeah,
Malcolm X were? That ooh.
yeah.
Is he still alive?
No, my daddy, he died 3 years ago
I'm sorry. I'm
in
sorry.
the pandemic. He died. You know what's crazy is my daddy, Kelly. He could quote the Bible, man. Like out, he could get around Atlanta with no GPS, and you know he got dementia. He
Mm.
got dementia at 70. I think he was diagnosed about 68 years old. It was a generational curse. And his uncle had died of it, several people in his family. And that thing took my daddy, turned him to a little boy. I mean, he
That's
just,
terrible. My grandparents that they were who basically raised me were like that. They ended with dementia. It's just terrible. I tell you, I just brought up Martin Luther King. He's one of the. I always ask a question: if you could have dinner with one person alive or dead, who would it be? That would probably be who I'd. His gift of gab is
yeah.
might be number two to you, but his story is remarkable on how he could uh, streamline people and unite people, and it's just a shame. I wish he would have lived longer and been able to make a bigger impact. So your company name is Conquering Hell in High Heels. What's
Yeah.
the backstory on that? I love it, by the way. Love it.
Okay, so I was walking through my divorce, and I guess I was about this time, about 38 years old, and Facebook had a quiz, and it was 25 things about me. It's when we were all just telling you stuff about ourselves, and it was like I like banana sandwiches with mayonnaise. It was like nothing, just stuff about me. And I wanted to do 25 things about me. This was right after my divorce. I was feeling so terrible about myself, didn't have no friends, and my mom and daddy's depressed. And I start with number one, said, what's your favorite food? And Kelly, I couldn't even tell you what my favorite food was. Like I had literally lost me. Number two was, what's your favorite color? I was like, I don't even know my favorite colors. That night I said, God, I need to know 25 things about me. I need to fall back in love with me. I've been in love with people that didn't love me back. I've been over here trying to give medicine to people that like being sick, and now I'm sick, and I need you to
Hold
heal
on.
me.
Say both of those back again. That is so
I
good.
I said I had lived my whole life trying to get people to love me that never loved me. And I was taking medicine to people that like to be sick, and I got sick.
That's where you and I are
Lost
kindred
me.
spirits. And I
Wanted
love
to
you.
help everyone.
I just met you and I love you. And I mean it. I know you can feel it right through this. I'm
Yeah.
sending you all kinds of loving vibrations because we're going to have some more tough questions. So keep going. You were talking about conquering hell in high heels.
So about 7 days later, my youngest, Lincoln Presley, he was about 9 years old at the time. He walked in and handed me a poem. And that poem was 35. It was Mother's Day. 35 things that I love about you. And it wasn't 25, because that's how God rolls. He does exceedingly abundantly more than we could ever ask or think, Ephesians 3:20. And number one on there said, Mama, I love you because you were the loudest one at my basketball game. I wanted to punch him in the face, because every time we would go to his basketball games, he would give me a lecture all the way there. Don't scream today. Every time I hit a goal, you're the loudest one there, and it makes me embarrassed. And here this boy is saying, Mama, I love you because you're the loudest one at my basketball game. The next one was, I love you, Mama, because you conquered hell in high heels.
Oh,
And
he came up with it.
yes,
Get
when I
out of
asked,
here.
I was like, Lincoln, what does that even mean? He said, Mama, he said, what should have killed you? You stayed soft. He said, because high heels are femininity. And he said, you didn't get basically ratchet, but you got righteous. You went from hood to
Oh.
holy, girl. he was
You
like,
are triggering me in the happiest ways.
uh,
It is just, this is what I needed today. Morgan and Lincoln, let's talk about them. They're 27, 29.
okay.
What do they do? What are they doing now?
So both of them work with me, and I pastor a church right here in Atlanta, Georgia, called Limitless Church. And if y'all are ever in Atlanta, come see me every Sunday, 10 and 11:30. I preach. And one of my sons runs my media. He does all the stuff. He's got me TikTok. He's like, hey, everywhere I go now, they're like, you're that TikTok preacher. I ain't even been on TikTok. But
Same with
Lincoln knew
me.
his
I get it
mama
all the
could
time.
do it.
My daughter goes, really? So wait, when did they turn not embarrassed? Because my daughter does the same thing. All of her friends are following me, and we get places. She's like, Dad, you're getting famous. I was like, I don't know. I don't really. When did they get proud of you and stop being embarrassed? Because my daughter, she came home yesterday and she was crying a little bit. And I'm too much information, but I'm going to tell you this. So she comes in, she's Dad, I had a rough day. I just need a hug. And I give her a hug. And then she says,
Oh,
I took it a lot. People were making fun of you for taking steroids. And I was like, well, I don't take steroids. And she said, I know, but I don't want to fight with them. And I said, well, are you? And I hug her and I said, honey, is it going to be that time of the month? And she goes, yes. And she goes, how did you know? I said, I've been around a few women in my days. So when did
I love
they
that.
flip? She's 14 and a half. When do they flip to the point where they're no longer embarrassed? Because I've only just begun to embarrass her.
Yeah. I did a TV show called Preachers of Atlanta, and it was on Oxygen. And I used to preach in tutus with my mohawk and like leather coats and combat boots. And I went through a little phase. I'm the queen of rebranding myself. I'm always going to be growing.
That was the
And
short hair ones
so,
that are on your website?
yeah, in
God,
fact, my book,
you just look
the
badass.
hey, that mohawk was 25 years. But the reason I wore tutus and stuff was because I was addicted to people pleasing. And so that was a way for me to break out, and like I became me. I was like, this is who I am, and she did that little character I created like took off. So I got on a show called Preachers of Atlanta. And on Preachers of Atlanta, man, my kids, like, because we had cameras following us, there was a lot of stuff we had to talk about. And I mean, my kids were like, they would just tell everything. It was like, you know, my lullabies every night when I was growing up was you and daddy screaming and yelling at each other on national TV. And so we were dealing with like real hard issues. And man, we got so close. Like that TV show was really for me and my boys. We got so close. We healed. And they both started working with me in ministry. Now, Link, my oldest leads worship, beautiful singer. These boys, Kelly, could have been such statistics because their mom and daddy got a divorce at a very prime age for them. But yet, now, because of the way we were able to navigate through the divorce, now these boys are healthy and strong. They're the greatest spouses. Like Lincoln's got a girlfriend, they're probably gonna get married. They love so well. Like their daddy wasn't really in their life, and yet they learned what not to do, how to be. I'm just so proud of them because I killed it.
Hey, there's your humility. Way to go, girl. So if you're like
I
me,
killed it as a mama, man.
if you're like me and you want more Kim, go to innercircle.realtalkkim.com and check out more methods to receive more of her. She's got this Real Talk Kim Inner Circle that is phenomenal. There's 4 or 5 different things that you can sign up for. Hey, Grant, make sure that that's in the show notes. So it's just brilliant. She shares herself with the world, and I love that. I love it. What's something you believe in that almost nobody agrees with you on? This ought to be good.
I believe that God uses people with the worst past to create the best futures. And I get judged so much by the church because I am not a bully. I'm not gonna just preach. Y'all, my daddy preached hell for the first 16 years of my life. Everything was gonna send you to hell, even ankle straps on your shoes. And that never got me saved. And so I don't preach hell, fire, brimstone. I preach love. I preach God's love, man. That God's love will change anybody. And so a lot of people, especially in the church, have a real hard time with that because they think I should be using my platform to put people in hell. And I'm just not going to do it. If I don't want to address something, I don't address it. I'm just going to love them and get their hearts right. So I believe that you can turn your life around in 30 days. I literally believe that you can be in the worst case scenario, and in 30 days change it and your whole life look differently.
I think you're my sister from another mister. I'd say 90 days, and I would also, I'd expand the love to all love. It's not just God's love. God's love is the ultimate, but all love.
I agree.
I think
I 100%
we
agree.
just need to lead with love. I have it in my bathroom that I look at every morning. It says, love everybody and tell the truth. Just
Yeah.
it's just a Ram Dass quote, and I look at it every morning. If we
I
just
love
did
that. Love everybody and tell the doggone truth.
the doggone truth.
I
love
love
it.
that.
I love your Southern accent. You're the best. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you I know
Me
you're a
too,
busy woman, and
Kelly.
it means the world to me. Like we were talking 30 minutes, and it feels like it's been 5, and I could talk to you
I know
all
it.
day long.
I know it.
At the beginning of the pandemic, you were served divorce papers, followed 3 months later by your father passing away. Those are 2 gut punches. You're a woman of faith. Why does God do this? And what did you learn from it?
With both of them, I mean, the husband situation, I knew I wasn't supposed to doggone marry him. Like, I just knew it, Kelly. Like,
You know what? Hold on. Let's you talked about that this morning on your thing. Talk about that gut feeling. Divert for a second and then go back to my question. Talk about that gut feeling. How you said it this morning is so articulate because we all know when we're messing up.
yes. And then we get mad. Like, we create these storms. And then we get mad because why did God do this? God didn't do this. God was giving me a million red flags, and I'm walking around acting like it's a carnival. I'm like, oh, it's a carnival. I can change them. No, you can't. Like, you already know that you walking into a really bad situation, Kim. And so I just, I
So
believe that
wait,
if you
what
go
were
with
the
your
red
gut,
flags? with the guy? Because this was his second marriage and you lasted 8 years, right? So tell me the red flags.
So, Kelly, I wasn't in ministry at the time. Like, I never dreamed in a million years when I met this man on Facebook. I never knew in a million years.
First red flag, by the way. First red flag. My producer's yelling, first red flag.
I knew, Kelly. I knew. I just knew, like, he wasn't the one. But I was living at my mom and daddy's house, and I was like, he's going to get me out of my mom and daddy's house. He's older. He's an older man. He's going to get me out of my mom and daddy's house, and he's going to save me. I never knew that I was going to be preaching. I never knew God was going to use me all over the world and make me like, everybody knows me. Like, I walk around, people know who I am. And so I met this man. His two of his exes found me on social media, reached out to me and said, "Don't you do it. Don't marry this man."
You're so real. I mean, literally, we've all done it. We've all done it. Yes. Red flag. Oh, it's all good.
Don't do it. Don't marry this man. And I'm working at Bloomingdale's making $19 an hour. I mean, $13 an hour. I'm like, he's gonna get me out. He can't be that bad. Like he was this nice looking older man. Like, he looked like he was good guy. Like, he had a house. He lived in San Diego. Like, he had a motorcycle. I'm like, I'm gonna be saved. He is my financial security. Oh my gosh, Kelly. I met that dude twice before I married him.
Oh, we do a whole podcast on this one. The jaws are just dropping in the other room, my guys.
Yo, I was not real talk Kim then. I could buy cheese with my credit. Like, I had walked through a divorce 4 years previous. I was so broken. I knew better. And I still did it. I would have stayed with him though, Kelly. I'm a ride or die man.
But I know. We talk about that because, man, I hear that story from you, and I just want to hug you because here, I mean, it's just raw dog. I mean, he just and that happened to me, and it's happened to us all. So tell the story about the divorce papers and how and what happened.
Yeah.
And
so I was preaching in Biloxi, Mississippi at a MLM event. I was speaking for 2 hours at this event. And all of a sudden, all these pastor friends of mine started calling saying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Kim." I'm like, "Sorry for what?" And they're like, "Your husband is being outed right now all over social media. Like, everybody is putting his picture up, asking whose husband." They all knew whose husband it was. And it was Real Talk Kim's husband. And he had gotten exposed for having an affair with one of my followers. And when I'm at the house, and all of a sudden the pandemic has just started a week. We're in the house. It's kind of quiet because he's been exposed. All of a sudden there's a knock on the door. And he says, "Kim, somebody's at the door." I go open the door, and a lady is standing there with divorce papers. And she looks at me and she says, "I'm sorry." And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it was God, because I would have stayed with him. But God knew his character can't keep up with your purpose, Kim. And so we're going to just let him out. We're going to let him have the exit. So that's what happened. And we went through the pandemic, got divorced. My daddy died 3 months later. It was probably the most growing season of my life. Really, I was a really great person then. But that year, it really knocked me over to being an exceptional person.
So, Kim, you know that while you were going through that, I was going through my same exact thing. I wrote the book. I wrote a book about it during the same time. This is when the two exes teamed up at the same time. I was alone. I was going through all these emotions. I was about 14 or 15 months into my sobriety, not understanding anything. That's when I officially looked up at the sky, and said, "You know me, God. You cannot break me. This will not break me." And I looked over at my scotch, and I said, "Nope." Grabbed a cigar. I put my phone down. I went for a long drive, and I devised a plan on how I was going to freaking claw my way back. So when you were going through that, I was going through that, and here we are today, stronger and better. Kudos to you. I am proud of you.
Kudos to you, man.
Bam.
What was meant to take you out took you over.
So, ooh, what's meant to take you
You know
out,
what I
took you out.
realized, Kelly? You know what I realized, Kelly? Here's one thing that I've learned, that your character will outlive their lives.
Come on.
You don't got to clap back, hurt people, but heal people, heal people. Your fruit will outlive every lie ever spoken about you. That's why you can't clap back and you can't go down to their level. You can't come off your chair to throw tomatoes in the cheap seats. You hear me? You got to stay focused, man, because thieves don't rob empty vaults. The enemy wasn't fighting Kelly and Kim because we ain't got nothing going on. The enemy knew there was a lot in us, and that if he could captivate us and keep us in anger, bitterness, and unforgiveness, and fighting in the flesh, then he could have us. But you and I did it. We clawed our way back out, and look at us.
And so
You
can
could go to
everybody
school.
else too. So can everybody else. And that's what this is all about. That's why you use your
Yes.
platform. That's why I use my platform. If you're
Yes.
sitting there and you're listening to this today and you're like, well, I can't do that. Baloney. You can. And you
Come on.
just got to stop being a victim and own
Yes.
it, become aware, and move forward.
There's 8 billion people in this world. Why are you letting a few buttholes stop you?
She
You
said
know what I'm
butthole.
saying?
You know what
Why are
happens
you
though?
letting people?
You talk about hurt people hurting people, but you know what they're really trying to do is that have the illusion of control. If I can be mean to you and I have control and I don't have to deal with my feelings. That's what happens. People need to realize,
Yeah.
hey man, that's why I sit there. Vulnerability is cool. If I tell you that I had to empty a freaking urine jar as a little kid, yes, you're going to feel sorry for me for a second, but that's embarrassing, and we can connect and bring us together. If I tell you that at 9 years old, my mom beat the living crap out of me, I'm not doing it for sympathy. I'm doing it because you understand all the battles that I've been through, like with you, with divorce papers and twice. You're human.
Yes.
And we
And it
learn
ain't
from it.
over.
Oh, I know. It's going to be. I feel like I just started living.
Me too. And I'm 51.
Baloney. I don't
51 years
believe it.
old.
Show me your birth certificate. I don't believe it. I
I
don't
am
believe it.
51 years old, and I feel like I am just getting started, man.
Fake news. You look beautiful. 51.
Thank you
Wow.
so much.
You
How old
are
are you, Kelly?
47. I'll be 48 in a month.
All
So,
right.
yeah, I'm 48 years young.
Man, I love that. Kelly, you think you're going to get married again?
I don't, I'd never say never.
Yeah.
I'd never say never because, hey, I did it when I was a mess. So I'd rather do it when I'm healed. I'm pretty
Yeah,
healed
because you're a
now.
gift.
The challenge now is that I repel the people that aren't for me. And it's a weird thing when I was drinking and partying, I was life of the party and everybody loved me. And then now I'm this wholesome and pure and vulnerable, big personality who's, I don't get what this influencer stuff is, but it is what it is. And it's just people run from me, but
Yeah.
it's, hey, I'm talking
The
to you.
right,
That's
the right one will run to you, you know?
yeah.
It's
When it's
like,
time,
it's like,
when God says it's time.
yeah.
And I want to say this. You are fascinating to me, and I've said it a million times, but I aspire to have your positivity. I have some of it, but I aspire to have more. This usually comes with non-negotiables. What are some of your non-negotiables?
You got to be fun. If you are a negative zapper, I will not be around you. I love you, and I pastor. I pastor a lot of different types of people. But I am the type of person. If you're around me very long, I will brainwash you into believing that you can get up from anything and be happy. So a non-negotiable is Debbie Downers, Petty Patricks. Another non-negotiable is people with no integrity. I don't like people with no integrity that don't love people. And so my non-negotiables are, man, you got to bring peace into my life, not pieces. I need peace. I need peace. You ain't gonna steal my peace. If you knew how hard I fought to get where I am today, you would understand why I have a slogan that says "Kiss my boundaries."
I love it. I'm right there. Kiss. That's the name of the show right there. Kiss My Boundaries. Right there. That is so good. And you know what?
Kiss my boundaries.
I know exactly what it took. I say, if you knew the amount of violence it took me to get this soft, you'd understand. That's literally what it is. Violence.
Because Kelly, nobody tells you the amount of grieving and healing.
Forgiveness. That was the big one. I had to forgive
Yeah,
my
me too.
parents. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive everybody and everything. And then just continue with the gratitude day in and day out until till you believed it. And I'm
Yeah.
like you. If you hang out with me long enough, you're going to believe you can fly.
Yeah.
The two of us together, they're going to be like, no, just please, just don't
Hey,
come near me.
I need just one of you, not both, just one. I can't handle both.
Can you share some hobbies and interests outside of Real Talk, Kim?
I love working out. So in January, I started working out, and now I'm like, I love the gym. I love lifting weights. I would never lift weights because I always thought it was going to make me look a man, but it doesn't. I love laughing. I love just, man, getting outside. I ain't scared of nothing. I ain't gonna be jumping off no building, but I like adventure. I just love life, man. I YOLO big time. I live, but really one of my big passions is working out. I love to work out.
So I have a theory. Everybody always says you only live once. I say you only die once. You live every day.
Yes, I love that.
So working out, obviously I work out. That's like non-negotiable for me. And you like my sister, because you say the same thing. Integrity. When I say how you get integrity is by keeping your word to yourself and to everybody else. And when I
Yeah,
say it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. So
yeah.
we're definitely gonna have to hang out. So if you could create one law, what would it be and why?
One law, if I could create one law, it would be stopping gossip.
Oh, you
If
ever read
you
the book The
gossip,
Four Agreements?
you're going to hell on a slip and slide if you gossip. What'd you say?
Have you ever read the book The Four Agreements?
Uh-uh.
It talks about being impeccable with your word, and be impeccable with your word is to not gossip. I just read the Four Agreements companion book, and it's so easy to get sucked into gossip. Someone
Oh
will be like,
yeah.
"Oh, did you hear about Craig? And did you hear about this?" And it's like, and in the Four Agreements book, it said it's none of my business, or I have no opinion on that. That's your two answers. And when people want to
None
gossip,
of my business, and I have no opinion on it.
hard.
Because you don't know, you always say that, oh, I don't believe them, but we're human. And when people plant stuff in people's heads, you still got that, you still got that opinion of that person. And I believe a lot of great people you miss out on because you listen to something that you shouldn't have listened to. So I think gossip should be, I hate gossip. That would be one of my laws. No
It-
gossip.
Literally, I tell people ahead of time that don't know me. I said, if you see me disappear from a conversation or a group of people, it's because they're gossiping.
Yep.
And I will mid sentence. I gotta go to the bathroom.
I will too.
Gone, and just walk. If you see me disappear
I
and I
will
don't
too.
come back, that's because I didn't like the conversation and it was
Me
negative.
too. And
Where'd
I don't even
who
mind. I
go?
just walk right off.
Yeah, and the best part is most people are drinking, and I don't even have to say I was there all night. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm back home sleeping. We're gonna come back to that what you learned about that, because we're gonna end it with it, because you're gonna go on a really nice run with that. So we're gonna come back to that, what you learned from your daddy dying and that divorce. But I want to ask some more. I'm going to keep going down this questions about yourself. What's the most important decision you made in your life?
Loving me.
Come on,
Fell
that's
in
a
love with Kim. All of me loves all of me. Loving
that
me.
is such an overused term. But I say it's you'll see all my responses to the haterade, um, sending you love and positivity. Love yourself. So
Yeah.
tell how you did that. Where'd you start, and how do you keep it going daily?
Kelly, I would lay in my bed at night because I was so angry. Like I would pray every night for my ex to get killed with a train because I knew that if he got killed with a train, and I would lay in my bed at night and be like, God, I know this ain't right. And I need you to help me love me. Like, let me stop blaming you for the storms I'm creating. Let me love me so well that it's the law of draw, that I attract the right people in my life. And I would just pray these elementary prayers, man. Like, I want to love me. I want to love people so well that when I say I love you, they would be like, I know you do. Like, let me. So I went on this journey, and I was real with me in quiet time. And then I would really let God do what he wanted to do in my life. And now I freaking love everybody. Like, loving people is my favorite hobby.
I feel you on that. This is, again, we're very similar. I feel you on that because you just took accountability for God putting bad people in your life. And the only accountability you have is that you allowed it. You didn't do anything, but you allowed it. And that is the hardest, at least in my opinion, the hardest accountability to take. My voice just crackled because I did it. And God kept sending these women into my life. And it sounds like it happened to you too. They're like, hey, dummy, pay attention. We're trying to teach you something. And then finally, I don't know about you, but I did it alone. And I just took a long time alone.
Yeah, I put a do not disturb up on my heart, did it alone. Best thing I ever did.
It's the only way to do it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask this, and I already know the answer, but I got to ask. What reaction do people have when you walk into the room?
I'm contagious, I mean,
Contagious.
I'm contagious. Because I really love people. Like, people always tell me, you don't really know who you are. Like, you don't really realize the capacity that you are. Like, you really are all that. But I think when you lose everything, you're so grateful that God's given you this influence, that you are just in awe. Like, I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful that God lets me do this and that I could still be working at Bloomingdale's, but yet people love me enough that they're in my inner circle doing life with me. They out of all the churches in Atlanta, they come to my church. Like, I'm just so grateful. And so I think that's what it is. People can't believe that, dog, she's like really humble and contagious.
You've only been doing this for a couple of years, right? 3 years?
So I've only been pastoring for 3 years. It'll be 4 years New Year's Eve. I've been Real Talk Kim for about 10 years.
Wait. New Year's Eve was your first one? You know that I quit drinking 5 years ago, New Year's Eve.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So yep. You did a resolution, which everybody knocks resolutions. You did a resolution and stuck with it.
Yeah, I just said this isn't working for me anymore, and I'm going to take a break. And I only committed to 90 days. That's why I said 90 days. And I was in Key West, Florida, and New Year's, I cheers the drag queen and set my drink down and never picked it back up. 5 years. And yeah. Did you ever...
Kelly, was it hard? Did you hit days where you were like, man, after 90 days, was it still hard?
No, it wasn't. It just
got easier.
The hardest part was about 6 days into it. I think I went gangbusters. I was in Key West for a week and drinking a fifth a day, and because I knew I was done. And I think it was January 4th, I got encountered with a problem. And January 6th, another big. These are major problems, like girlfriend problems. I own an IT company problems, and then. I was sitting at my house. I felt really abandoned. I'm sure you can identify with abandonment, and I just wasn't loving myself. And I hit what I would call rock bottom. And I got a call from a dear friend out of nowhere, and he said, "I want you to know that I love you, and you're a good person, and you just made some bad choices." And I said, "I know." And I just burst out in tears, let it all out. I had another friend show up at my house, took me to the gym, and just got me to work out. And after that, my daughter came home and we had dinner, and it was just, all right, it's go time. And about a week later, things got better. So
you didn't even have to go to rehab. I
did it cold turkey. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it but alone. We talked about it. Alone. I needed to be alone in my feelings and process these things.
Yeah.
And I did. And here I am. I'm coming up on 5 years, and it's I don't even think about it anymore. And this is what I look at. And I have the contrast. When I used to drink, I used to start off my days in a negative. I'd have a few drinks and I'd get myself to even 0. But now I'm at 9, 10 maybe 30. And if I have one drink, and I could have one drink, I literally, I don't believe I was an alcoholic because I was able to walk away. I would bring myself down to zero. Why the hell would I want to do that? I'm here for a reason. I'm here to inspire, model, and educate and show people that this can be done. I mean, I was a big boy. I had a tolerance of amazing people. I showed a lot of fun. But I tell you what, since I quit, my body's in a better shape. I'm a better father. I'm a better businessman. I launched a podcast. I wrote a book. I'm about to launch a fitness app. And life is good, man.
So proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm grateful that I met you. I got a weird question for you. When you are down, which may never be, but we're always down, what can you think of to make you smile?
Man, life. Like, I just have a great life. Like, I think about, if it could be, I could still be at Bloomingdale's.
How often do you get down? Mine are fleeting moments. Like,
Yeah.
something will be, the mind virus will just pop in and say something of old, and I got so many habits and rituals that I just don't. That's not true. And I know it's cool. Usually, I'm just hungry when that happens. Actually,
Yeah. Mine's usually around that time of the month.
So that's it.
Hey, I'm just like, girl, shut up. Like, I'm the queen of talking to myself, though. Like, if I find myself getting in a mood or something, I'll be like, Kim, shut up, girl. You got it going on. Like, I'll just be in that mirror talking to myself. So I don't let myself go there. Like, people ask me all the time, are you always like this? I'm like, yeah, I really am, because happiness is a choice.
When you first got started, did people call you intense, too intense, or too much?
Oh yes, I still get that. Why are you so passionate? Why you gotta talk? Because I get going, man. I'm like,
Oh, I know you do. That's why I keep cutting you
they'll be
off.
like, why are you mad? I'm like, this is called passion. So yeah, I mean, I'm a lot for a lot of people. Everyone's not gonna like you, and that's okay. Just keep being you, and the right people will be in will come follow you. God will send complete strangers to love you and support you, man. So I just don't let myself stay down.
Like you. It's, you know what it is?
Yeah.
What you just said is love. You're just loving yourself. That's it. There's not too much. You're just loving yourself. What's
Yeah.
your biggest fear?
I don't really have any anymore. My biggest fear before was not getting to experience love, because obviously I was a glutton for love. Like, my daddy and mama were married 52 years, and my fear was, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? And I don't fear anything anymore, because I've watched God do too much in my life to fear. If it's God, it's gonna happen, and there ain't nobody in this world that can stop it. And so I don't have any fears, not one doggone fear in my life.
So you just keep spurring me to share stories with you. So I own a home in Florida. I own a home in Michigan, and I fly back and forth, for my daughter. And I used to own a plane, and we would fly, and I used to get nervous. This is when I drank. I hated going through the clouds because you couldn't see. And my future, I felt like I was going to hit something. Like God was going to make me hit something to stop my deviant ways. So I was flying back on Monday, and we were coming through the clouds, and I was just watching them, and I was a complete calm, because I knew God had me, and I was on the right path. And it's faith over fear.
Period.
Microphone drop.
You cannot have faith and fear. And fear is false evidence appearing real. God is not a God of chaos and confusion. He's just not. So when we find ourselves getting anxious, the Bible says, be anxious for nothing. Mm-hmm. And so when you start feeling it, you just breathe. Like, that's what I do when I start feeling anxiousness, or because I was on 6 planes last week. I just breathe. It ain't nothing. I'm so quick to let things roll off my back now. I used to be, oh my God. Not anymore. I'm just like, everything is the way.
Do you ever get the feeling that anxiety, that really gratitude and anxiety feel very similar to me? Do you ever get that?
Anxiety and gratitude. I don't know. Break that down.
So a lot of times I will start feeling, my heart will start racing when I'm doing something cool, and I'll be like, why am I anxious? And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not anxious. I'm grateful.
Ain't that crazy?
It's because I just grew up, like I told you, I was raised in hell. This is no exaggeration. I was raised in hell, so that I never was grateful. I mean, I was scared to death. So I didn't have anything to be grateful for. So grateful, it feels a lot like anxiety because that's all I've ever been is an anxiety until
Man, that's
the last few
deep,
years.
Kelly. That is
What
deep.
what can I
That
say?
is awesome that we realize that how many times we don't just step back and realize, man, I'm actually not I'm not anxious. I'm actually very grateful right now. If more people would do what you just said, they would be doing this instead of this. Up and down, up and down.
Stephen Scoggins has a mentor that said this: "This too shall pass, and what replaces it will be greater." And I say that to myself a lot.
And it's the truth. It will pass.
Absolutely. I want to go back because we're finishing up. I want to be respectful of your time. We're come up in an hour. I could talk to you forever, and I love this, and I want to. I can't wait to meet you in person. Let's go back to what did you learn, and how did it? And I know you now enough to know that when your father passed away, along with the divorce, this was God saying, "I believe in you." So just take on that and say, what did you learn, and how can you share that with the people?
I learned that with elevation comes separation. If my ex wouldn't have walked out on me, I would never be where I am today because he was a hater. You know, he would have just kept pulling me back. That sometimes God has to break your spirit to save your soul. Um, I also realized with my daddy's passing that if my daddy would have still been here, Kelly, I would never be pastoring this church, which is killing it. God is crushing it because my daddy didn't believe in women preachers for forever. It took him getting sick for him to really start and watching me on Preachers of Atlanta, where he really started seeing, man, my daughter's got my gift. So if my ex wouldn't have walked out, I wouldn't be what I'm doing today. Both of my exes, actually, I would not be where I am today. So with separation comes elevation. When we realize that rejection is God's protection, rejection is not necessarily someone wanting out of your life, but it's somebody God needs out of your future. And I look at that death of my daddy like that legacy when he took his last breath, the legacy of my life took off so I can do what my daddy could never do.
Here's one for you. Rejection is redirection.
Whew, man, so good.
Everything happens for you, not to you. That is a freaking, you can look at that and see that right away. Is there anything I haven't asked you that I should have that you'd like to share?
I think one thing I would like to add is y'all know I just put a new book out called You Gotta Get Up. I've written 5 books, but I want to talk to that person today that might have been like me in special ed. Maybe you don't know where commas go either. Maybe you are over here feeling like I'm not qualified. Nobody in my family's, I'm the black sheep of my family. I was too. Now I'm the goat. There is nothing in your life that is stopping you. And whether it was special ed, whether it was quitting school, I want to encourage you that God uses every single thing. Your test is your testimony. Go write that book. Stop letting the enemy tell you nobody would read your book. Yes, they will. Your book is going to change the world and the legacy will live on. So don't let labels that were put on you stop you from doing all that you know you're supposed to do. Run, Forrest, run, and don't stop. Don't stop. Keep getting up again. Failure is not failure unless you stay down. Failure is part of success. So you got to make mistakes in order to get to where you want to go. Because if at least you ain't making mistakes, then you ain't trying. So get up today and realize as long as you ain't dead, God ain't done.
Why not you? You got to get up. Go get that book. And usually I spend the whole time talking about books, but I wanted to get to know you, and this
I
did
love it.
not
I'm glad we did
disappoint. We'll have you back next year. We'll go through whatever book you write next year.
So glad.
It is so good. Let me remind everybody, please rate and share this podcast. Also, I do my best to respond to all the comments on all social platforms. So if you want to see more of something or less of something, leave a comment. Each and every episode is sponsored by National Technology Management, the easiest and best IT company to do business with, delivering peace of mind with technology every day. Visit trustntm.com for more information. Until next week, be harder than life. Thank you for listening. Please rate and subscribe to Harder Than Life, and let's take this to the next level. Get connected at the links below.